everyone, and welcome to another episode of Analytical Fanboys. I am your host, the Vacuuminator, and I am joined, as always, by the cosmically aware Boingo Rider.
The butterfly over in Asia is fucking hard, bro.
Oh my god!
He
getting
doing that. I'm doing well. I'm also doing Pump and City Water.
Okay.
Get it well?
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
Do you get my pun?
I got your pun, bro. It's a good pun, bro.
All right, cool.
Cool. Yeah, it's good. It's good. Anyways, this week we're talking about a YouTube series called Every Frame a Painting, a project between Tony Zhou, an actual professional film editor, and a few other colleagues of his, I'm assuming. I haven't really looked into these people beyond just basic shit.
It was one other person. I remember in their final video, they're like going like, I was the narrator, but like this person always helped me research and do all the writing. And she's like, hey, how are you?
So this guy. But we are discussing the overall content of Every Frame a Painting because it is a YouTube channel that only has about 30 videos on it, and it is definitively done. They've said they're not coming back to it unless one day very far down the line they get interested in potentially saying more stuff with it, but they've said just about everything they have to say on video editing. And it's a really interesting watch front to back. I mean, this kind of ended around the time I was really getting serious about media analysis. And so for the whole time period of me doing that, this was kind of my Bible. But I haven't seen a lot of these videos in quite a while. So it was interesting going back and rewatching them and getting like some new takes on stuff that's going on here. And Chris, I'm pretty sure you're equally, if not very closely, familiar with this channel. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your history with it?
I was watching as they were uploading, so like I was subscribed day they uploaded. I would watch a new video, and I think I started watching around either the video right before or right at the Jackie Chan video.
See, I came into it around the time the Chuck Jones one came out.
No, I was Jackie Chan. That was the first one I watched.
And that's a good jumping on point, especially because that's their most viewed video.
I could have swore it would be their Avengers one.
As would I, but it only has 3.9. The Jackie Chan one has 16 million.
But factoid. Yeah, it's a video essay series mostly dealing with the art of film, but not in like the writing and acting kind of way, which is a lot of the direction a lot of other video essayists kind of dive into. They went much more in the cinematography and editing lane, the much more like technical aspect of film craft.
It's about the visuals rather than the audio, which is what a lot of people tend to focus on because it's the most easy to read. I mean, I don't want to say like other media analysts are lazy. It's just that's what most people go to. However, I mean, it's
we get a level of literary what's the fucking word? Literary
understanding.
What's the fucking literary literacy from schooling? Because like we are all taught, read the Raven. What does the Raven represent? Oh, it means depression. We all have at least a little bit of an understanding of meaning and metaphor and theme, but the concepts that they really delve into is much more of the film craft. It's editing, it's cinematography, it's blocking, it's why does this scene work, not in the narrative like thematic level. How does the crafting of the scene help inform that it help inform that and help inform the dialogue choices that are made, or even supersede the dialogue that was written for the scene.
Visually, why are these choices good, and why are choices in other movies not bad but poor by comparison?
Yeah, and a good example of that one is their video on Bayham.
Yeah, which is actually my favorite video by them. I watch it with quite regularity just because I don't have the distaste Michael Bay most people have for Michael Bay. I do not, and it's probably partially because I was a kid when the first Transformers movie came out, and I also happen to be a very big Transformers fan. So it's nice to hear somebody talking about him and saying, like, yeah, this is all bad, but here's what we can learn from its badness.
And here's the thing. I will say this as a person who will adamantly say Bad Boys 2 is a good movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Michael Bay has his place.
See, the thing is, Bay has good movies by his standard. The thing is, a lot of the people who dislike him because they're looking at him from a, like, I'm the person who likes the kind of movies that win awards of standpoint.
Yeah.
I've heard people, like even friends of mine who vehemently hate all of his Transformers movies have said, like, oh yeah, I loved Bad Boys 2 when it came out. Pain and Gain was flipping great. It's clear that, like, he just doesn't care about Transformers and he's just doing that for a paycheck, which I agree he doesn't care about Transformers. I don't think he was ever just doing it for a paycheck. I think he was doing it because I get all this fun money to play around with. I get this budget to play around with.
Yeah, I get a budget to play around with. I want to do a bunch of visuals. Yeah, I'll throw in some robots, but I want to focus on, like, on shots I wouldn't be able to get for other films.
Mm-hmm.
You know, which, I mean, I could think of a worse franchise to do that kind of filmmaking with.
Batman, for example.
Yeah, like he wouldn't be good for Batman.
No. He wouldn't even be good for characters with way more powers, like Superman. We've already seen, as much as I like Man of Steel is kind of what would happen if Michael Bay made a Superman movie.
It's what happened. It would happen if Michael Bay read Ayn Rand and liked it a little too much.
Yeah.
Remember, piss on Ayn Rand's grave in Minecraft.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Bayham video is good. Like, I also really appreciate. It's probably because one of the creators, Tony Zhou, is an immigrant himself, or the son of an immigrant. I think that's what he described it as in one video. But he also talked a great deal about non-Western cinema, Korean film, Japanese film, Chinese film.
It's so cool seeing somebody talk about movies from Asian. I almost said Asian countries, but Asian countries. It's very slight difference there, people.
A country is otherwise known as Australia.
Yes. Somebody talking about films from Asian countries and isn't just going like, look at the special effects. I like kung fu movies. Aren't kung fu movies neat?
Or like the circles we're in, which is all tokusatsu, Godzilla, Ultraman.
Yeah, that's what I meant by look at the special effects.
Or the few spattering Japanese horror films that kind of peek through.
Yeah, most of the movies he talks about are character dramas. Like he does a whole video on Akira Kurosawa, and he uses hardly any footage from his action films. He's more focused on like stuff like A Lovely Sunday Afternoon, which is a very, very charming little film for those of you who haven't seen it. And it's just nice to see this alternate perspective that it's somebody who has a level of understanding of film that most film analysts don't, because he's been in the industry for, I guess, quite a while, just judging by how he talks about editing.
I think in the video where he literally goes like, what why do editors make the choices they do? He said, I've been in it for like 10 years.
Yeah.
So 10 years and about like 2016. So about like 10 years of editing experience. So he's coming at it with a lot of like know-how and like, yeah, I can see why they made this choice. I can see why they would not do this choice, or like it feels like there wasn't a choice made, that they just did the thing.
It's very much a perspective of not necessarily an adult coming into a room full of kids, but an older brother stepping in on his younger brother and his friends having a conversation, going like, okay, you guys have a lot of good ideas here, but here's what's actually going on.
Yeah. And it's more or less just because the people who want to talk about movies
are movie fans.
Are movies fans, but also like they have like there's only I'd only say like there's two people who talk about media that genuinely like enjoy making film.
Mm-hmm.
And that's technically the Angry Video Game Nerd, because he likes trauma and making schlocky B movies. So like there's that. But then there's Patrick H. Willems, which he has said like, no, I really enjoy making films, and I wanted to make short films, but then this whole YouTube video essay thing kind of took off, and I just like, I like it just as much, but I want to put in the effort that I would for a short film.
Yeah, I actually see that with a lot of YouTubers where they go like, yeah, we shit on movies that are bad constantly, but we always do it from this perspective of we have a lot of respect just because this movie got made, because we've tried to make movies ourselves, and yeah, we have a final product, but it ain't great. Like that's what Red Letter Media says, or at least Jay from Red Letter Media says that quite often when he's like interviewing somebody from a bad movie they've done a video on, and they'll be like, what about this thing in Space Cop? And he's like, look, man, we know Space Cop shit.
But like it's really, he points out a lot of different things, but they're all kind of linked together, and it's just like, hey, don't just do something because you think you have to do something with purpose.
Yeah, think about how you're putting these images together and how they are connecting in order to tell the story. And it's really interesting getting to rewatch and sort of relearn all this, because I realized that a lot of it is just ingrained in me now from how often I used to watch these videos, because I just recently put out a video on my channel where I purposefully made the editing bad, because the whole joke of the video is this stuff isn't supposed to be happening anymore. I'm tired of it. I want it gone. So I'm not putting any effort in. And all the bad editing I did in it was deliberately doing stuff he says not to do. And I wasn't even thinking about it. I made the video before I started rewatching this.
I mean, it's such simple advice that he gives that it's just easily internalizable. Like, just the way the F is for fake video, where he talks about like how to structure a thing. You don't use and then, you use therefore or but.
Mm-hmm.
And the have two coinciding plot lines, so you can always dip into one when you're getting bored of one.
Mm-hmm. Which is something that you don't think about, but once you hear somebody put it in words, you start noticing in things. Like, I was going to talk about this in what we've been up to this week, but I've been rewatching Avatar: The Last Airbender, and I literally just watched 2 episodes tonight, and one of them is considered to be the worst episode in the series, and it's immediately followed by the best episode of that season. And one of the things I noticed is we're with all of the characters through that worst episode. And in that best episode, it's very much going back and forth, not just to stuff in the present, but flashbacks. There's like 4 or 5 stories in that. And it's really interesting.
Yeah. like there's a lot of individual episodes that just have like a good kernel of like information you just like it's good to know when you're making content or like understanding content.
Like the episode on text and the internet. That's a really interesting watch just because of the variety of examples he gives on like this is the kind of weird shit we're doing right now.
Yeah, and also like understanding like things are going to have to go through some rough spots to get to a more consensus place.
Mm-hmm.
All that kind of things.
Yeah, it's interesting how in that he says like, yeah, representing the internet in film is something that's probably going to take us a really long time to actually nail down. That video came out 5 years ago. I'm still seeing movies where it's like, this is a weird representation of the internet.
Oh yeah. I think
because the internet is constantly changing and you might never be able to nail it down.
Yeah, no. Internet's going to be a weird thing. And like, I think they're right on the idea that anime is probably going to have the much better representation just because you can futz so much with internet there. Mm-hmm. And technically anime's been doing it since the mid 90s. So they've had a lot of time to fucking try and do it.
Yeah.
But that's just on like internet and like, it's weird it's interesting to think about in that kind of regard. But like looking at the list, because I just YouTube channel just watched every single video because there's only like 26.
Yeah. It's you do one, you go to uploads, there's like 5 rows of videos, you do 1 row per day. It's an easy watch.
Yeah, like I really appreciated the Spielberg Warner episode.
Yeah,
just because it's like it's such a simple little technique, but you can see how useful it would be for like so many goddamn situations that it's just like, oh, here's the thing, if you want to do a long take like this, remember you can move the camera and move the actors in time to get a different kind of shot.
Yeah, you can film a scene like a wrestling promo.
Yeah, but like you can like close in, zoom out. But
by the way, Chris, I almost forgot. I need to ask you because you were talking about the Michael Bay video earlier. Have you begun to watch WrestleMania on TV yet?
What?
That's a clip he uses is Werner Herzog talking to some dude and he's like, I think you have begun to watch WrestleMania on TV because we need to understand this is something that's coming at us. This is a thing people want to watch.
Yeah. Like there's a few bits of like,
look, not everybody's going to be a wrestling fan. It's okay. I just think that clip's hilarious.
No, there's few segments of like, I don't want to say anti, like, there's bits where like in the Spielberg video where he goes like, yeah, it's kind of weird to defend Spielberg as like this big art guy. And it's like, to who? To snobby art people? Because that's the only people I would think would not appreciate Spielberg.
Mm-hmm.
Like everybody loves Spielberg. That's the point of Spielberg.
Yeah, there's a couple of like, I don't want to say like bad things in his videos, but like slight missteps in my opinion. Like in the Marvel music video where he's interviewing people on the street, I'm like, I get the point of what you're doing here, but because everyone you interviewed just comes off like an absolute normie, it, as somebody who's actually into this stuff, it doesn't make your point for me. It just makes me go like, well, these are fucking normies. This one guy who's saying he's the biggest Marvel fan he knows, he looks like he just watches every movie when it comes out and then forgets about it.
Yeah, like, and people in the comments were going like, yeah, but Marvel fixed the problem. It's like, yeah, but Marvel, that was only a kind of like minor problem.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
and I get the point he's trying to make is just like, be more creative with the music. Let the music be an element of the film rather than a set dressing.
Have music be a cognitive choice and not just a temp track.
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not saying like he was picking on Marvel because of it. It's just like Marvel's an easy example of the time. But like, even when that video came out, I racked my head a little bit, and I was like, no, I can remember the Captain America. Da, 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 da. No, that's the Avengers. Da, 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 da.
And I can remember fucking Iron Man 3. Bomb, 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 bomb. That end credits music is great.
And like the Captain America, da, 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 the da, 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 da. That little like. Here's the thing: they also had more time to drill those in our heads. So we can.
He did make good points in that video, like when he's talking about you don't need narration in the museum scene. I was like, yes, thank you.
I can understand why they put it in there, though.
It's for people who didn't see the first one.
Yeah, but also like you can understand it's a museum
or didn't see the Avengers.
It's a museum. The museums can have that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So to me, it felt more of like diegetic kind of thing. I love the video on Buster Keaton. Just makes me like appreciate how we're still referencing the old classics.
Yeah,
today.
That and like the fucking Jackie Chan video are a really good. What's the word? Double feature on just how to book action, how to like perfectly get something across with your body and the camera.
Yeah. And he even goes, but like the big thing about all this is he's explaining tools that you can use. Not necessarily like, hey, you need all these in your film. It's more like, hey, you want to get this kind of thing across. Here's some tools you can use.
And that's another thing I really appreciate about his channel. He never really comes off like this is good and this is bad. He's just like film edit, people who want to be movie makers, people who want to understand movies better. Here's how things work, and here's examples of them working and not working.
Yeah, like even in the Michael Bay video, he goes like, yeah, no, Bayham has a function and here's it working well. And he shows the Bad Boys 2 scene where he's circling Martin Lawrence and Will Smith's characters, and he's going like, yeah, because things are getting tense, this adds to the tension because they're still, but the world around them is swirling. It works. It gets that visual idea across. It's just when you use that for every goddamn scene, it gets overwhelming, and that's what he was criticizing Michael Bay for.
Yeah. Michael Bay has like 6 tricks, and he uses them 10 times each in every film.
When if he used 6 tricks, if he used 1 trick per movie, and that's it, and the rest was like tripod shots, more people will probably really appreciate the times he used those tricks.
Yeah. It's also just really great to see his clip choices sometimes, because he'll pull from stuff I've never seen and he'll make me go, oh, I need to watch that now. Like every time I watch the Jackie Chan video, because that is another one I go back to quite a bit, I'm always like, God damn, I need to watch more Kung Fu movies.
Yeah, especially like old school Hong Kong Jackie Chan flicks. There's just something about like that mid-90s Jackie Chan aesthetic.
I also really appreciate some of the play he does with the format of YouTube, like those couple times where he's like, I'm putting the film titles under the subtitles thing. If you want to know what's in there, stop asking me in the comments, just click CC. I think that's really smart, though it's also kind of funny when the very next like later that year, people on YouTube figured out like, oh, it's not actually that much effort to just edit in the name of the footage in our actual timeline.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it's trying different things in terms of video essay style, and it's very much the way I'd say it is like contemporary video essay is much more focused on the person than it is on the content. Because it's easier to edit. You don't have to worry about fucking YouTube taking down shit if you just show like pictures next to you filmed in a chair.
But this isn't Like the thing about this is it's not about trying to make money or trying to.
It's not about the personality.
Yeah, it's about here's how filmmaking works, and I'm going to show that as best I can. And in order to do that, sometimes I just need to let the scene breathe. Yeah, this video will get a copyright strike for it, but I don't care. I'm not trying to make money here.
Yeah, but this was also like 3 years ago, the last video was, and that whole system wasn't really a major problem yet.
Mm-hmm.
And this is very much like a video essay of the time. Like this, like Nerdwriter did it like this. Like
it all really comes off like it's meant for the young people of the time who want to go to film school, but they also know film school is a scam.
Yeah, and not all of it's all just about like video editing. And sometimes it's like, hey, let's look at Robin Williams and appreciate how he moved and how that could affect cinematography and the editing choice.
Yeah, or hey y'all, stop fucking using my city to fill in for other shit.
Yeah.
That video is great. I love that video so much.
Yeah. And it's interesting. It's good. It's like it's all good content, but there's a very significant through line of just like going from here's some interesting camera choices, here's some cinematography choices and directing choices you can make, and then it gets more into like here's some craft of filmmaking just in and of itself. These are basic building blocks that you can use to affect other things. Like just going from one of his last videos to one of his first videos, watching these, you can understand the blocks and how to put together things using the ensemble staging from the Memories of Murder video.
Oh, that one is so good.
And the Spielberg Warner. Because he's talking about very similar things, just in different contexts. And because he's explaining to you, here is the technique, here's how you can use it, here's what you can achieve with it, here's what you shouldn't use it for, or like here's things it might not be good at. So maybe you can do it, but maybe you shouldn't want to. Like you start picking up like, okay, this and this can work together. Or the Spielberg Warner and Edgar Wright comedy techniques. You can go like, oh, I can see how those kind of would line up together.
Or the shot reverse shot video is just a fucking great example of like, here's how to use a very basic and overused filming technique, but use it smartly and make it feel very snappy and much more comfortable and not boring.
That, along with the David Fincher video talking about like, here's how he stages dialogue to tell aspects of a story, you can see how those two can work together. Same thing with The Bad Sleep Well, Geometry of a Scene. Like, this is all building techniques to make a film, and not necessarily like, you wanna film like Robert Rodriguez, you got to do this.
Mm-hmm. It's I was gonna say it's a far cry from some channel, but I can't remember the channel's name now. What's that one that is like Renegade Cut? It's a far cry from Renegade Cut.
Yeah, no, Renegade Cut used to be like that. He's much more like thematics now.
Mm-hmm.
But like, yeah, every frame of painting.
It's good shit, and not Vince McMahon good shit. Actual good shit.
It's proper good shit.
Mm-hmm.
But looking at the list of videos, part of me also wishes they made 2 more, so it'd be an even 6 rows.
Yeah. Also, I think it's weird, just to dunk on the Marvel video one more time, it's weird that that's the last video, and how does an editor think and feel isn't the last video, because that feels like a final statement, a closing of the book. And then to have the Marvel video after that, it feels like he's just walking back in the classroom real quick to go, oh, and also music right now is being used badly. Stop that.
Yeah. I do appreciate the use of Danny Elfman, though.
Yeah. It was so great getting to, like, because I've seen that video a couple times before and I know all those clips, But seeing them again after having listened to an Oingo Boingo album for the first time was like, oh, I'm learning more about what goes into his process. This is great.
Yeah, it's just, and it's super good. It's all of its like, because he talks everything from like, here's some ways you can use props in a film and how you can film them to make storytelling more effective.
Oh, in praise of chairs. That's a near perfect video essay.
Mm-hmm. And like, there's only one like one of his videos that goes over the 10-minute mark.
And it's the one we've been dunking on.
Yeah. It is really the outlier of this whole thing.
Yeah.
It's very weird because everything else is like sub 10 minutes. Like the longest one other than the Avengers one is 9 minutes and 25 seconds. Like, it's very much like, here's the idea, here's its execution, here's what it can do, here's what you shouldn't do it for.
It's almost like the closer you get to appealing to YouTube's algorithm, the more good content you sacrifice.
Yeah. But YouTube is a treacherous wench.
It's
Is that a good turn of phrase?
It's the Glasshouse we're sitting in.
Yep.
So do you have anything else to say on this channel? Because I feel like we've actually gone and said more than I thought we were going to be able to.
I think I've said enough. I think we have made the case that it's not a good textbook, but it's a good hearty appendix.
Yeah.
It's a good index. You can go like, I want to framing a scene. Okay, here. Blocking a scene. Okay, here. Editing. Okay, cool. Here's a couple of videos about editing to get a style.
It's one of those seminal YouTube channels that I feel like everybody should check out, especially because it's one of the few that I would give that title to that doesn't really have the caveat of, oh, and they're still going and it's not as good anymore.
Yeah.
Like, it's weird because whenever I do go back to this channel, I'm constantly kind of scared, like, oh god, have the copyright bots gotten to it yet? Is it gone? Okay, thank god it's still there. In its entirety. So it's one of those channels that I feel like should just always be there, perfectly preserved, but because of the nature of YouTube, it may not be. So if you're listening to this and you've never heard of Every Frame of Painting, go check it out. It's good, and it may not be there forever because streaming does not equal ownership. Anyway, you want to find out what we're talking about next week?
Yeah.
All right. I will just click the button right now. I'm not doing any suspense. Ooh. Man, that's 3 in a row for me. We're doing a independent comic that I'm quite the fan of. We did your superhero independent comic. And now we're doing mine. We're doing Red Knight, A Knight Without a Sword, which is, I believe, the contents of the first trade. And this isn't just fucking indie as in it's not Marvel or DC. This is indie as in this was self-published. So I'm going to have to buy Chris a copy of this.
Oh.
Yeah.
Let me check my place and see real quick.
So, Chris, what have you been up to this week?
Well, thing is, I didn't get a chance to watch or read or listen to much of anything.
You weren't a human at all this week, were you?
No, because, hey, I've been editing a video. I'm happy with the video. But I spent like 2 days editing that whole thing together. And then another day. So I've mentioned this a couple times, how I watch YouTube. I put things in my watch later playlist, and then I put that on shuffle. But as I had told Vac the other day, that wasn't working.
Mm-hmm.
See, basically, you know how you're in a playlist and it shows like the first 200 videos of the playlist right next to the video you're watching?
Yeah.
Well, see, the watch later playlist, if it shuffled into a video outside of that 200, it immediately went to the very first video of the watch later playlist and just played that. So it was broken. And I tried dealing with it for a couple days, and I tried figuring it out, and I tried fixing it. And I sent YouTube like 15 goddamn messages saying like, hey, this fucking shit's broken. Till I finally just broke down and spent 5 hours putting every single video that, mind you, was a 1,200 playlist into a brand new playlist just so the shuffle would work.
See, here I thought you were going to say that you broke down and you just started watching it linearly like a sane person would have.
No, I made the same choice.
Sure you did.
I wanted to... Fuck you. Dude, I wanted to watch a thing a very certain way. That's what I wanted to do. That's the only choice you could make.
Sure you did.
So that's how I spent some of my day. I've still been playing Dragon Quest XI. I'm on a boss, and I've tried to go up against it like several times, and it is just super powerful. And I don't know if I need to just rethink my equipment or if I need to actually grind some. I don't know. Probably a little bit of both. I'm thinking. There's some other stuff I did. I've been listening to more Rammstein. Specifically, one of their new songs, Radio. It's a dang good song, and the album that it comes from was number 6 on Fuse albums of the year list.
Nice.
So yeah, Few likes Rammstein.
Of course he does.
He's a European metalhead. Of course he does. Not a ton of comics I've been reading. Oh, but there is. Hold on. Where'd it go? Boop. There is a. I didn't get too far into it, but there is a book I've started to read.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. So, do you know of Extra Credits, right? The YouTube series.
I know of them. I have seen some of their work.
Okay, they have a series that deals all with like sci-fi stuff. It's like a history of sci-fi, individual writers, individual works, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well, they just did a one on like a science fantasy novel series, and it sounded interesting. So I looked up a PDF and I started reading it. I'm only like 5 pages in.
Okay. What book is this, just out of curiosity?
It's the first book of the Chronicles of Amber, which is the 9 princes in Amber.
Okay. I have never heard of this, but it definitely sounds like a book series to me.
It's like it's like an old school 70s fantasy series.
Oh wow! So you're doing some John Carter shit.
Yeah, except John Carter was like fucking early
turn of the century.
Yeah. Even
the slaves loved him.
God, that was that was a fucking line.
That will live in infamy for me always, just because of the way you built it up when you were telling me about you reading that book.
Oh man, it was such a thing. But yeah, I can talk about my YouTube video for a little bit because I'm fucking proud of that. I finally got it made instead of just sitting on my ass and wallowing in pity, going like, I need to make a video.
Yeah, go out there, work your gimmick, kid.
Yep. You liked it, so that's a good thing. You and my other friend liked it, my best friend since middle school, and that's all that really matters is making them laugh, making you guys laugh.
Yeah.
So, and I also did like, apparently some scientists turned like frog cells into a biomechanical robot, and that's what my friend wanted as the picture I used for him.
Oh, okay.
So and I put glasses on it that looked like his, and he says, "Can you send me that picture?" So happy go lucky there.
Should I make the joke?
To turn the frogs gay?
No, the other one.
Hello, my baby. Hello, my darling. Hello, my ragtime gal.
God damn it. Cody to YouTube confirmed.
Oh, no. Oh. But yeah, that was my week. A lot of like futzing about. It was also a lot of like I was watching a bunch of like. Here's the thing: I don't watch everything on my watch later playlist. There's a couple things.
No.
Fuck off, you bitch. Like if it's contemporary news or it's contemporary political opinions, because I follow a good couple of those kind of people, I watch them as they come out, just because if I watch them in like 2 months' time, it won't be relevant.
Yeah, anything that's like especially with wrestling shit, because that shit relies so much on being in the moment. Most of that, except when it's like Brian Zane reviewing an old pay-per-view or an old storyline, I listen to that shit like right when I'm getting home from work and I'm going around the house getting my chores done.
But yeah, I've been watching a lot of Bosch and Kyle Kalinske and things like that, just because. Hey, I don't shy away from it. I'm a lefty dude. Yeah. So I've just been watching that while basically building up a lot of good habits just around me for future.
Nice.
So this isn't a plug. Don't fucking go there, because fuck, there's nothing there really. I've been basically doing a daily blog on Patreon, just trying to get like, I just want to write something every day, and I figured, hey, just a little update on what I'm doing with videos and how I'm feeling would probably be a good thing to do. And I've been keeping a to-do list since like early November, and that's been helping a lot with a lot of shit, especially because I have a scattered brain. But I've also just started, the best way to put it is it's like a good habits counter / daily journal, where I just go over how I felt that day. And kind of like, so that's kind of just like helping me wrap up my day. I've been doing that as the last thing right before I kind of go to bed. So it's like just quantifying what happened, what I did, and how to make me feel like, oh, I made a YouTube video. I liked it. I'm proud of what I did. Though it's super fucking late and I don't like that. Fuck me.
Yeah.
Getting up at a good time, eating breakfast. Though today I forgot to eat lunch.
That's okay. Lunch you can skip. Breakfast and dinner, you kind of got to get those in.
So at like 3 o'clock, I ate a small bowl of mac and cheese.
Yeah.
Because we had leftover mac and cheese. And we had Mediterranean tacos for dinner.
Ooh.
Yeah, Yoros.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's basically how I've been past couple days. It's mostly like trying to build good habits, because, hey, like I said last week, ADHD, you need fucking good habits.
Yeah, and it's the beginning of the year, so why not do some of that real boy shit to get it off right?
Yeah. I did watch a fucking amazing film trailer. Can we talk about Morbius? Because, oh boy, Morbius.
I wasn't gonna bring it up, but like, go off.
Bro, I've just become a huge fan of the current Morbius run, and I've always loved the character Morbius ever since like the 90s Spider-Man cartoon. And like, you know how people said like, oh, you can't do Venom without Spider-Man and like all that kind of stuff when Venom came out? It's like, yeah, that makes sense. Venom just doesn't feel like it should. It needs to be Spider-Man related.
But then they did it and it was pretty good.
Yeah, but Morbius is a character related to Spider-Man. He's in the Spider-Man realm, but he's not dependent on Spider-Man. So there's a lot of cool wiggle room you can do, and like, I mean,
and
fuck
yet
Jared Leto 90%.
Also, I'm gonna put $10 on the table right now and just bet they've shown us all the Spider-Man references already.
Oh, very much so. I have a feeling that's it. And I have a feeling if this movie does good, I wouldn't hazard MCU and Kevin Feige being like, you know what, we can bring him in a little bit. We don't want him like, You did okay with this, Sony. We'll use him a little bit, and Sony gets
my perspective is I know nothing about Morbius. I know he's connected to Spider-Man, and that's it. I never saw those episodes of the 90s cartoon. So I'm just going into this movie for the after credit scene where Blade shows up, where New Blade shows up.
That would make sense. Though Morbius has teamed up with Blade.
Yeah.
Because they were both members of the Midnight Suns.
Mm-hmm.
Which can I just be like pedantic Marvel nerd because I know all this dumb bullshit?
Yeah, fine.
Midnight Suns was a team in the late, I think it was mid-90s. I have the first 6 issues of when the Midnight Suns first appeared. But basically it was, let's put all the supernatural spoopy boys on a team. So it was Morbius, Blade, Ghost Rider, and like a couple of other, like Brother Voodoo, I think was on it.
Yeah!
Brother Voodoo! Which he's technically canon in MCU. His brother died in Doctor Strange.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And that's how Brother Voodoo becomes Brother Voodoo, because his brother gives his head to basically says like, "Hey, you can have my head and make a voodoo skull." So that's MCU, not canon. It's hinted. Like, I just love dumb Marvel shit, because you look at like dumb DC shit, and it's like, oh, Shazam had a talking tiger as a best friend. But you look at dumb Marvel shit and you go like, oh yeah, in the mid-90s there was a superhero whose major gimmick was he just rode around on a skateboard.
I love that I was gone until that sentence.
Yeah. So what you been up to? Because I've just been going off on dumb bullshit that doesn't really relate to anything.
Well, I didn't do a whole lot, but I did do a good bit. So I'll start off with what I read, because I had myself a good hearty day of it's raining, so I'm just gonna sit around and drink rum and read comics last weekend. So I read Justice League Unlimited #1 because that came with a free pack of figures I got at a convention a little bit ago. It's okay. It's about what you'd expect for the first issue of a comic that's tying into a, at the time, currently airing cartoon series.
Made for kids.
Yeah. Supergirl #53 from the post-crisis Supergirl, which I had read before, but I hadn't looked at in quite a while. And I really fucking like that issue. Like, without going into a full plot breakdown, it's basically the first issue post New Krypton, after New Krypton's been destroyed, and like Superman is back to being Superman and being a good guy, but also Earth kinda doesn't trust Kryptonians anymore, and Kara just got through being basically on the world's most wanted list. And she's like, she's living with Lana Lang. She's getting ready to take on a secret identity of Linda Lang, Lana's adopted daughter, I think it is. That they don't say in the issue. It was either daughter or she was going to be masquerading as Lana's cousin. I don't remember what it was. But she's like, yeah, I'm kind of tired of being Supergirl because Earth just basically spent a whole 6 months spitting in my face for doing that. So I'm just going to hang up the cape forever and try and figure out how to have a normal life. And then there's a big catastrophe at the end of the issue, and Lana's like, you're going to go see what's happening and help, right? And she's like, no, I'm done. And Lana basically gives her the best fucking like get your shit together talk ever, and is like basically does a great power, great responsibility thing with her, but in many more words, and it's a really good speech. And it's also, it made me go like, man, I really like this. I also really like the New 52 stuff where she's best friends with Silver Banshee before Silver Banshee becomes a villain, and they're grounding each other. It's almost like we keep figuring out the key to writing Supergirl is to make her have a best friend closer to her age who's a somewhat normal person, and have them just bounce off of each other. And then we keep fucking her up by making her tie into other current shit. I'm really upset about the Rebirth run. Okay, I just am. It's not good.
I wonder how many comic book writers are pissed off that Stan Lee so heavily associated the phrase "with great power comes great responsibility" to Spider-Man.
Yeah, probably a lot.
I can use this phrase and it would make everything more simple, but it's a Spider-Man thing.
Yeah.
Marvel gets away with it because, hey, Spider-Man's probably said that to every other goddamn Dick and Jane in the world over there.
But if you're writing for DC, it's like, oh shit, I might get us sued.
Like, they can make jokes and references, but like iconography like that, ugh.
Yeah. But a good fucking issue, and it's also pretty much a done in one. So if you find it in the back issues bin at your shop, I would recommend grabbing it.
So is this like mid-aughts comic?
This is late aughts. I think this was like 09 to 11-ish.
So right before 52.
Yeah. Because this is like the tail end of the Sterling Gates run, and then comes the run that was happening right as I was getting into comics.
Let me clarify what I just said. New 52, because there's a whole year-long comic span of 52 in there.
Yeah. And also, I don't know if I've ever said this on the podcast, so fun fact, I got into current comics 6 months before New 52. So I was getting all invested in Grant Morrison Batman and just discovering how much exactly I like Supergirl, and they were like, yeah, none of this matters anymore. And I was like, God fucking damn it. I spent 2 years spectating and feeling out to see where I wanted to start. And then I pick all this shit and half of it is worthless now. Fucking thanks.
Oh, God. That's the best.
Yeah.
That's the best. See, here's the thing. Marvel fans, all we have to worry about is like dumb fucking events every once in a while.
But yeah, the entire fabric of your universe never changes. Like, they say it does, but it always looks basically the same.
And if it does have a major change, it's 90% of the time, it's not to 616.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there's a major change. Oh, to what? Oh, the Ultimate Universe. Oh, okay, cool. So 90% of people won't give a fucking shit. Oh, there's a major change. Oh, what happened? 90% of the multiverses don't exist, and Reed Richards and Sue Storm are out with their children making new universes. So how does that affect every other book? Oh, it doesn't. It's just like a thing for Fantastic Four to deal with. Okay, cool. So nothing's changed. Doctor Doom lost his god complex.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's cool.
DC, it's like we're fucking changing everything. The JSA is in the same universe now. Superman was no longer the first hero. All these heroes don't exist anymore. Fucking Psycho Pirate is crazy, and he's gonna cause people to break the fourth wall. It's gonna be a wild ride, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, that's a very interesting thing with just Marvel and DC comics, because I'm a Marvel fan. I'm a lifelong. I love Marvel comics. That's where my comic book superhero heart lies.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know why. It's just how it landed. And you're very much a DC dude.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, like, I don't dislike Marvel. It's just there's very few runs or stories in there that I directly get into. I like a lot of the characters and the ideas of them, but I'll freely admit it's mostly because of the movies. There's not a lot of Marvel comics I've read that I'm like, this is good shit. This is this character to me. Like, fucking Captain America. I love Captain America. I can name one Captain America run I've read all of.
I mean, there's runs that in arcs for certain characters that are like really cool and iconic, like the Brewbreaker Captain America run is classic.
I've never read it.
It's Winter Soldier.
I know what it is. I've never read it.
I'm just saying, for context.
Yeah.
And then you have the Claremont X-Men run, which has a lot of fucking shit. But that includes like Age of Apocalypse, the Dark Phoenix saga, stuff like that.
Yeah, the Claremont X-Men run is like 20 fucking years of every X-Men comic.
Yeah, like you say a favorite X-Men story, 9 times out of 10 it's Claremont, and the other 1% it's Grant Morrison.
Mm-hmm.
Or
Joss Whedon. People love Absolute X-Men.
Oh yeah, there's that too. And like Demon in a Bottle, Iron Man.
Yeah.
So there's it's just DC has more pop culturally classic things like The Death of Superman, Dark Knight Returns, Watchmen. Marvel tends to stick in its lane a lot more.
Yeah.
And like it's not bad. It's just and the way Marvel and DC kind of goes with like weird abstract ideas is fascinating to me because it's so very similar but so very different.
And it also perfectly illustrates the differences in our taste because like you love weird, crazy, cosmic, abstract bullshit. I'm like, no, put everybody on the ground and let's get serious for a second. Because I also read this week Deadshot Beginnings, numbers 1 through 4, which is it's actually just called Deadshot, but the trade calls it Deadshot Beginnings because that's the title of the first issue. And it's the miniseries from 1983, I believe it is, or it's 83 or 88. I can't remember which. But it happened right in the middle of the John Ostrander Suicide Squad run, and it's written by Ostrander and another person whose name I don't remember. And it's basically just a quick little character piece for Deadshot of somebody has kidnapped his kid and is trying to get him to do an old job, and through that simple plot line, we learn a lot about his past and his actual backstory from before he became a villain and what makes him the kind of person he is. And it's really fucking interesting and cool. Even if you don't know anything about Deadshot, I'd really recommend reading this.
Was this before or after the Judas Contract?
I want to say before, but I'm not sure. I haven't read New Teen Titans, so I wouldn't know off the top of my head.
Okay. It's just like that's the Teen Titans storyline I know, and he's heavily involved in that. So
I didn't even know that. I people only ever talk about Deathstroke when it comes to Judas Contract.
Isn't that what you were talking about?
No, Deadshot is the Batman villain who's obsessed with guns.
Oh, fuck. Yeah, no. Shit. They've got fucking similar names. You gotta admit that.
Similar in their phonetics.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's really good, and it's a relatively quick read, especially for the time, because that was back when they were still loading issues down with words.
It's Will Smith.
Will Smith is literally the only time Deadshot has been a black guy or had that kind of attitude.
I'm just saying, Will Smith played him, so.
Yeah. Then I read Batwoman /Supergirl World's Finest Giant, number 1. This is part of the DC Walmart Giants line that they've been doing, where it's one character and you get an original story with them, and it's meant to go like 10 issues, and also you get a bunch of other issues reprinted in there from runs either of theirs or of side characters of theirs. So this is actually 3 original stories you get in this. So this is a much better value than any of the other Giants. You get a Supergirl Batwoman team up story, you get a Batwoman solo story, and a Supergirl solo story. And then you get a couple reprints that I did not read. You get the team up is just kind of okay. It's a very standard first time these characters meet and work together in the Rebirth universe kind of a thing. The Batwoman solo story, I think, was good, but I don't know enough about Kate Kane Batwoman to say. The Supergirl solo story, however, was fucking great. Like, so much so that I got on Twitter and I was like, why is this not what we're doing with the actual main book right now? Because it's basically, remember how I told you that they did the thing to the Supergirl book that they do the books sometimes where it's like, there's a slightly different version of this character in other media right now, so we have to make the book like that version in case people come over from the other media and start reading comics. We don't want them to feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's sort of the Marvel problem.
Yeah, they did that in Supergirl a while ago, and they've gotten pretty far away from it now. But for a while there, it was just unbearably bland because of that. And this is a writer taking that and directly throwing it in the garbage and saying, no, this is what we need to be doing with Supergirl because it's called Exit Interview, and the story opens with Cat Grant like bitching her out for the 10,000th time and being like, why the fuck are you here? You can't do anything. You keep screwing up all my shit. You're a horrible assistant. You're fired. And Kara has a breakdown and she goes to the Daily Planet and Superman shows up and he's like, hey, bad day. And they talk for a little bit and it's ultimately like her saying like, I'm just trying to live up to your example. I just want to be as good of a person as you are to these people. And he's like, why are you even trying to be a reporter? You keep talking about back on Krypton when you were into science and you had your own lab and all this stuff. Just because I'm a reporter, just because that's my path doesn't mean that's the only path. Maybe you need to look into some alternate careers. And she's like, oh shit, you're right. And the last page is a full page spread of her going to a Star Labs job fair as Kara Kent. And I'm like, holy Christ, somebody besides me remembered that Kara's a scientist and is actually using it in a story.
Yeah, well,
that got me big excited. I'll definitely be picking up the next one of these just to see where they go with that. And then finally, I read Jonah Hex Guns of Vengeance, which I believe is the second volume of the Jimmy Palmiotti Jonah Hex run, which is another thing that's just before New 52. It's pretty good. It's not like the best Jonah Hex thing I've ever seen, but it's a really, really solid Jonah Hex, and it's just like a bunch of done-in-one Western stories. It's like a shorter version of what Jonah Hex movies should be, of just here's Jonah Hex thrown into a kind of supernatural Western story, and we take it to the logical conclusions.
Jonah Hex just needs to be like straight up Weird West.
Yeah.
Jonah Hex goes into a ghost town that's being ravaged by something. Oh, is it probably thieves? Nope, it's a Wendigo. Oh shit, bang.
He's John Constantine in the Old West, except no wisecracking.
Like, I can understand why Jonah Hex probably isn't going to be like the big successful mainstay comic, but like give Jonah Hex a run like the Miracle Man run, or this current Martian Manhunter that I need to finish when the next issue comes out, or like Immortal Hulk. Give him like a really serious run like this. He'd be like, that'd be one of the most classics of superhero comics.
Yeah. But then I also listened to a couple things. First off, hey everybody, take a shot. We're doing a wrestling conversation. I finally sat down and listened to Sean Spears' new theme, and it's the best thing Josiah Williams has done ever. I love it. The lyrics are so good and such a not to make a pun, but there's such a perfect explanation of his current character. It really feels like he just went to Josiah and said, "Hey, I'm leaving in a couple months and I'm doing this thing. Can you write me something that's exactly explaining what it is?" And Josiah was like, "Yeah, I got you, man.
Let me do it real quick before I get hired by NXT because they're talking to me." Oh yeah, no, go fucking there. You'd love it there. Oh yeah, thanks.
It's one of those things where I listen to a wrestling theme and it's so good and it gets me so pumped. And this is probably the first time it's happened with a heel theme. but it gets me so pumped that I went and put it in my workout playlist. And it came up the other day, and it's fucking good for lifting weights and shit. Also listen to Man Cheetah by DJ Cumberbund. Very obvious joke, but done very well. Eagle-Eyed Tiger by Heartbreak Hills. Just kind of an average, all right synthwave track. Very, very, very decent for night driving. Put it in that playlist. And then stuff I watched. So I'll lead with the big kind of newsy thing. The Kira Major trailer dropped. I'm skipping Sentai for the second year in a row, Chris. Like, it doesn't look bad. It just does not look like my cup of tea. I hate the outfits. The weird mismatch of characters feels very Ninja to me. The way the Red Ranger is fucking acting feels very Ninja to me. And also the toys look like ass.
Yeah, my friend sent me a picture of like the Zord,
the main robot.
And it's just like it looks weird and off center, and the translucent plastic just makes me go like, why?
Yeah, and somebody did a really good Photoshop of fucking Revenge of the Fallen Leader Megatron to point out like, yeah, look how gimpy of an arm they gave that robot. It's really crazy putting them side by side, especially because that thing that's forming the arm is the fucking shovel on a crane. It's like that should be a huge badass gonna grab you and toss you around arm, and instead it looks like a shriveled weed.
Yeah, it's just not good.
Also, Canon from Kamen Rider Ghost is in it, so that naturally throws up red flags for me.
Like I told you earlier, like different director can change an actor.
Yeah, and I freely admit, like she didn't seem like a terrible actor in Ghost. The way they wrote her character, just like if I had been playing that character, I'd have been embarrassed. Oh hey, Geki Ranger reference. That's cool, I guess. So actual good tokusatsu. I watched Power Rangers in Space episodes 36 through 43. Finished it out. It's still really good. I feel like there's like a couple bumpy episodes before the finale, and I know Judd Lin has denied it vehemently, but the pacing at the beginning of Countdown to Destruction really does feel like it was supposed to be 3 parts. Because it just starts. Like, it's just, the first scene is just Dark Spectre very quickly saying to Astronema, "We'll gather the forces, we're going to attack, it's time to fucking take over and shit." And she's like, "Yes, the battle will begin!" And it's like, why? There was no build-up. You guys were slowly taking down the Rangers, but you hadn't gotten there yet. Why are you attacking now? But it's still good. It's just like I'll always contend that there's stuff chopped out of Countdown. And then I started another rewatch because I got the DVDs for my birthday. Avatar: The Last Airbender, episodes 1 through 12. Wow, it's interesting going back and watching these early episodes because I mostly think of it for like later season 2 through season 3. And
yeah, once Toph appears, it's a completely different series.
Yeah, and that's not to say like it's a bad show. It's just it feels much more innocent and much more rough. Like, the animation isn't bad, but it feels much more stiff until like episode 9. It starts to loosen up and they start doing a little bit more.
Like, honestly, in my opinion, Avatar: The Last Airbender, you can turn the first season into like a recap movie and be fine. Season 2 and season 3, I don't think you can do that. But season 1, I think you can like make a clip show, hour long like recap movie and you'd be perfectly
like
fine.
a Gundam movie.
Yeah, like a Gundam movie.
Okay, because I was gonna say somebody tried to do that and it went horribly.
But you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like take the clips from the episodes and just edit them together with like some flashbacky like cuts and edits. Like you can do it.
Yeah, you only really need like the pilot. Well, out of what I've watched so far, you need the pilot. You need
I'd say pilot, Boomy, Jet.
The Pirates episode and the Storm,
and then the finals. So that's about it.
Oh, and Solstice.
Yeah. Like it's like there's a lot of fluff in that, and I think it's partially just because we're making a kids show, and
you're also figuring out the world and the characters, and
Nickelodeon's probably wanting so much out of it because like, hey, we want a kids show, and it's like, okay, here's some kids show plots. Yeah, good. That's what we want.
And like you can definitely figure out like they probably had a good idea of the story, but they didn't fully understand the world until they were a good bit into it. Because you know how people they make like a big joke out of the Earth King just having a regular bear in season 2, and it's like, well, all the animals in this world are weird crossbreeds of animals we know, but here's just a normal animal. Isn't that crazy? They reference regular animals all the time in like the first 5 episodes.
Oh yeah, and panda.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a panda.
It's one of those. It's like George Lucas saying, "No, the plan was always for Luke and Leia to be this brother and sister." Motherfucker, I read Shatter of the Mind's Eye.
Yeah. Star Wars is never meant to be planned from the beginning. Yeah. You go into it movie by movie. Anybody who says they should go into with a plan of like an overarching idea doesn't fucking know Star Wars.
Yeah. And this is very similar. Like I would even say with its cultural impact, this is kind of our generation's Star Wars to an extent.
A much lesser extent. And I think our generation Star Wars is very much the MCU.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of shared with the Zoomers, to be honest.
Then if we're talking about just our generation, just the pure millennial generation, then it's Toonami.
I would debate that a lot, but we're already pretty far into this episode.
I'm just talking like Dragon Ball, Gundam, like that idea of like, oh, anime? That can be a thing? Wait a second, content from Japan? That's a thing? Power Rangers, Tokusatsu, anime.
That's fair, but I'm thinking of like one specific series. Anyway, it's good. It's not as good as I think of it being. I won't say as I remember, because again, I don't think of these early episodes that much, or at least I haven't in a long time. Then I watched the 3rd episode of this season of Doctor Who. Oh boy, was this a steaming pile of shit. Like, they did the 2 worst Doctor Who stock plots in the same episode, and I was not a happy camper. I won't go into details, because if I do, this is going to turn into a 30-minute rant. This is very much, this probably has no impact on the season overall, and it's terrible, so skip it. It's like Fear Her from the 10th Doctor's first season. Kamen Rider 01, episode 18. Polar opposite. This is such good shit. I am fucking in love with 01 right now, and so much so that I'm actually watching the episodes twice in the same week. I rarely ever do that for Rider or any tokusatsu, just because you gotta pay full attention. But I'm watching it twice a week because I want to make sure I get everything out of it that I can, because there's a lot of thematic stuff going on with the characters right now. Especially with fucking Amatsu Guy, the way they're building his character right now. That's Kamen Rider Fowzer's real name. Because the whole plot of this episode is Aruto going like, "Hey, are you an evil dickhead? Because you kind of kicked my ass last episode, and also it looks like your guy cheated in the competition where the proxy battle we're having." And he's like, "Wait, he what? What the? No, I'm not okay with that. We're gonna have another round, and I'm gonna make sure he doesn't cheat this time because yeah." I hate you and I want to kick your ass and take your company, but I want to do it fair and square.
I want to do it legally and above the board until you piss me off, and then I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's probably how it's going to happen.
He very much comes off like my kind of Lex Luthor because he's not hamming it up at all. He does have his gimmick of saying everything needs to be 1,000% perfect, and I despise young people, but he hasn't
doesn't.
Yeah, and that's the thing. He's in between Boomer and Gen X because we find out he's actually 45 years old in this episode, but he looks 24. Like that's a whole conversation in a scene where they show a photo of him shaking hands with Aruto's grandpa, and he's like, "Wait, you knew my granddad, and you look the same in this photo? How old are you?" And he's like, "I am eternally 1,000% perfect, youthful." It's good shit. I like it. And then finally this week, I watched the last two parts of the CW's Crisis on Infinite Earths. I'm not gonna go into a whole thing like I did for parts 1 through 3. I'll just give it a general overall. This was the most embarrassing schlock I've ever seen in my life. Like it legitimately feels like a completely different team made this from the first 3 parts because first 3 parts were okay. I had a lot of like niggling things to talk about with it, but it was okay. This is just plain bad and weird at times with some of the using ridiculous amounts of effects when you don't need to. And like the fight scenes in the first 3 parts weren't great, but every fight scene is just ridiculous, repeated, sweeping crane shot of a bunch of people standing in either a quarry or a fucking parking lot punching CGI. It's
oh my god, it's a bad Power Rangers episode.
I was about to say, I legitimately felt like I was watching Legendary Battle during a few scenes.
I did see the clip of Justice League Flash talking to CW Flash, and that was cute.
Yeah, because that's a thing, like, because they have to fill time a few times in this episode, there's a scene where Barry's trying to get everybody back to the moment when the Monitor released the Anti-Monitor by accidentally going into the Anti-Universe. And so he's like, okay, we got to go back to the beginning of time. I'm jumping into the Speed Force and take all of you with me. And he accidentally loses everyone and he has to run around the Speed Force and try and find them. And he bumps into Justice League Flash, who I've never seen outside of the like weird cameo in Batman v Superman. So getting to experience that Flash for the first time in this, wow, I don't like him. But also I really enjoyed that scene because it felt like a doctor and his past incarnation meeting each other.
Yeah.
It's just like, what? You're Barry Allen? I'm Barry Allen. What's the Speed Force? Well, it's this. Oh, I was theorizing about that. I was telling Cyborg about that. Your costume, it looks so comfy.
Yeah, Batman made this. Who's Batman? You don't have a Batman? No, I have an Arrow. Is that like a Batman? I don't know.
I have a Bat. I just got a Batwoman. Do you know that?
No, we have a Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman?
Yeah, she's you know Linda Carter? Yeah, she's the president on Supergirl's Earth. That's weird.
Fucking hell. Yeah, what about that one dude who's just real comfy that neither of us met? Oh, he was cool. He got to have a happy ending.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And but the main thing with this, the big question we all had at the end of the first 3 parts is, okay, so is this going to end with them doing the thing we've wanted them to do since Supergirl got put on the CW and use this as an excuse to have all the shows be in the same universe again? And the answer is, well, yes, but actually no. Because after they beat the Anti-Monitor the first time, the next episode picks up with Supergirl waking up as if everything was a nightmare and then flying around trying to figure out what's going on with the universe. And she runs into the Flash and it's like, wait, how are we on the same Earth already? What's going on? And they figure out that all of the CW shows, except for one exception, which I'll get to in a minute because it's fucking hilarious, all those shows are in the same universe now. So fucking Legends of Tomorrow, Flash, Black Lightning, Supergirl, all of them are in the same universe now. And fucking Arrow doesn't count because it's about to end. They're like, where was I going with that? Oh yeah, also I should mention, because this is another thing I speculated on in the 0.5. Tyler Hitch Superman is getting his own show now. And also cool. there were a few changes made to people's personal timelines in this new universe. Mainly, Superman has 2 sons now. So I don't know where they're going with that, because that's not a thing in the comics unless they're doing both John and Chris Kent, but I think Chris Kent was adopted, so John Diggle has his daughter back. And they kind of played out like because Oliver as the Spectre was a major player in getting the new universe created. Like they literally keep saying during the final fight, Oliver's gonna light the spark, we have to fan the flame. That's a phrase that's repeated way too much.
That sounds like a goddamn Power Rangers phrase.
Yep. And they play it like Oliver's doing a favor for his friend, because long story short, John Diggle originally had a daughter, then Flashpoint happened and he had a son, and then in the future he has 2 sons, and we don't know what's up with that. But now he has both a son and a daughter. So yay, good for him. He gets to have a happy ending, I don't know what's been going on with that character for like the last 4 years. Barry's like, okay, everybody meet me at this abandoned warehouse. I know. And we're going to have a memorial for Oliver. And also, surprise reveal, I got this nice table from Big Lots. And also, I bought us all custom gamer chairs. We're the Justice League now. The Justice League is a thing now. And the starting Justice League lineup in this universe is Flash, Supergirl, Superman, Martian Manhunter, Black Lightning, and White Canary.
That's not a bad Justice League, though.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's just a little weird with the inclusion of Black Lightning and White Canary.
I mean, someone has to be the Ant and Wasp of a superhero group.
Mm-hmm. Also, they tease fucking the Wonder Twins, because the last shot of the crossover is like monkey sounds and stirring in the background, and somebody looks over and they're like, I think we need to call pest control, and then cut to panning shot of a cage door swinging back and forth with the nameplate Gleek on it. Yeah. So basically the layout of DC live action now is all the shows that are currently on the CW are Earth Prime. Then fucking the Stargirl show that's about to start airing on CW is going to be Earth 2, which I get why you're doing that. That's JSA. So JSA is normally made Earth 2, but also part of the point of the original Crisis was to bring the JSA into the main DC universe. So why would you not do that so you could have the Stargirl show interact with the other shows? It's just a bit odd. And then all the DC CW, or not CW, DC Universe shows, the streaming service shows, each one of them is now in their own universe. So Titans is its own thing, Swamp Thing is its own thing, even though it's canceled. Doom Patrol is its own thing.
Harley Quinn.
Yeah. Well, Harley Quinn's animated, so we don't fucking care about it. Also, apparently, Christopher Reeve's Superman's universe still exists because we get one last shot of Brandon Routh in the costume doing the flying above the earth, waving at the camera thing. And also, the recently announced HBO Green Lantern show is going to be in its own universe. And the way they show that is by using stock footage from the Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern movie.
Oh my!
Like you don't see him, but you see like shots of Oa that are from that movie.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my god. That is a train wreck.
Also, they like I said, they defeat the Anti-Monitor the first time and they recreate the universe, and I was like, okay, this is really poorly done, but they're doing exactly what I predicted. This episode is just them fighting the Anti-Monitor with a bunch of filling for time before we actually get to that. And then the next episode is we're exploring the world, and it's like 20 minutes of just exploring the world, and then, oh shit, the Anti-Monitor still exists. We gotta fight him one more time because we can't have an episode of this without a fight scene. And the way they beat him is they make a shrinking bomb, and they just have him constantly being shrunk down, thrown into the microverse. And they make a joke about how that's already a thing in the MCU because Adam, because he's the one who suggests the idea, he's like, oh yeah, I discovered that when I was trying to make my suit. I call it the Adamverse, and Ray, the other character they brought in for this, who's another version of the Atom and is clearly going to be taking over the suit from Brandon Routh very soon, is like, how about the microverse? And Brandon Routh goes, oh, that's a lot better, but I think it's copywritten. Yeah. So they basically just they have him be eternally shrinking, and he's not a threat anymore. And before that, they have a embarrassingly bad fight scene in a literal parking lot, where like one of the major beats of it is he's got a shield, like a force shield around his body, and 5 different characters are just shooting guns at him. And it's like, you guys are complete idiots. And then he does a Make My Monster Grow, and we have a 50-foot tall Anti-Monitor fighting Supergirl, Superman, and Atom as they're flying around him. And then they finally hit him with the shrink bomb, and it's finally mercifully over, but not before the Justice League scene, and also characters repeatedly saying, thank you, Oliver. You made all these great sacrifices throughout your life, and it got us to this point. You're so great, Oliver. We all love you. You were the best guy. And it's like, okay, I get what you're trying to do. You're trying to do the Robert Downey Jr. Iron Man thing, but it doesn't work because Robert Downey Jr. Iron Man didn't like actually fucking kill people every episode in his show. And he was actually a cool guy who was trying to make amends for things. And the Iron Man mopey dickhead who got dragged into everything he ever did.
And the Iron Man thing was subtle. They never said like, "Thank you, Tony."
Yeah,
it was like, you think he'd be proud of where we are right now? He's like, yeah.
Also, there's a really funny moment where White Canary, Flash, and Supergirl all have like a little speech of like saying goodbye to Oliver at his memorial service. And then Black Lightning is there, and during the beat where they're all trying to figure out if somebody else is going to go up and say anything, he just kind of goes, I never met Oliver, but he seems like he was a good dude. And fucking Flash just looks over like, yeah, he was. And then they start walking towards the custom gamer chairs Barry got everybody.
God damn it. I in my head, it is like the cheapest Walmart gamer computer chair possible.
That's literally what it is. It's literally that shit, but they fucking taped like nice metal versions of everybody's symbol to the back of it. And there's one for Oliver there, so he's always with us in spirit.
Oh God. Oh.
It's so bad. It's such a fucking amazing ball drop, and I love it to bits.
It sounds like a beautiful train wreck.
It really is, especially because the first 3 parts were so surprisingly good.
You want to know what would be even more hilarious? If they took a page from the recent comics and they made like one of the alternate universe like Easter egg things, like the fucking the Watchmen TV series from HBO.
You know what? I'm actually surprised they didn't do that, because that's a pull they could have very easily gotten, but it's like the one live action DC thing they didn't use.
But you know what I mean? Like, maybe they didn't because there's no second season.
That's true.
Because the creator said, yeah, we told the story, one and done, we're done. And HBO's going like, yeah, we're not gonna do it.
Good for fucking them. That's how you do it. Tell your story and get out. Also buy some merch.
Buy the merch.
But
now that it's done, I need to read the Doomsday Clock stuff.
Oh, okay. You're actually going to go in on that.
Why not? Fucking let's go on an adventure next week where we talk about Red Knight and I fucking go insane trying to explain Doomsday Clock.
Hell yeah. But excuse me. I don't know why. I just randomly coughed twice there. It's a good symbol that it's time to end the show. So, Chris, plug your shit.
Alrighty, I am Chris Boingo Writer Gaston. I make video editorials and dumb jokes now, apparently. You can find my YouTube channel, probably in a link in the description. If not, you can search for Boingo Writer. You can follow me on Twitter at Boingo_Writer. Follow me on Instagram at Boingo_Writer. You can join my Discord server, link to that in the description. And should I fucking send you a link to my Patreon so you can put it in the description?
I guess you can if you want to start advertising it. It's entirely up to you.
Nah, we'll do it later when I actually have content worth putting on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it for me.
All right. Well, I am The Vacuuminator. I'm a YouTube toy reviewer and all-around person who exists. I'm not currently making videos. I'm in my off-season right now, but I do have plenty of good old content for you to go back and enjoy. So do that at youtube.com/user/thevacuuminator, spelled TheVacuuminator. I am also on the social medias. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at The Vacuuminator, and you can keep up with this podcast. It is a production of Modular Media, so if you want to get every episode as it comes out, go ahead and click that subscribe button, ring the bell to enable notifications. You can download MP3s from the Google Drive folder linked in the video description on the go. And you can follow us on social media in order to keep up with updates on the shows as they're coming out and whatnot. It's at the Modular Media on Twitter and r/Modular Media on Reddit. But that is going to do it for this episode of Analytical Fanboys. We will see you next week when we will be discussing Red Knight, A Knight Without a Sword.